I'm scrolling through Facebook, like most of us, on a fine January 2021 day, and I'm going through Afghans living in DC page. It's a big page for the Afghan community here in the DMV area. And I see a flyer from Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers looking for an Afghan woman in her 40s who speaks fluent Pashto for a upcoming CBS sitcom called The United States of Al. And they were looking for a mother, Gulbashra, and to play Al's mom. And United States of Al was a show about an Afghan interpreter who served the United States military back in Afghanistan the last 20 years. So Al makes best friends with the US Marine, and then he comes to the United States, and the story is about his immigrant life here in the United States, but in the meantime, he's left his family back home in Kabul. So I played, I would be the mom who was back home in Kabul. But initially, when I saw that ad, the flyer, I'm thinking about my sisters. My sisters are these super talented, animated women who mimic the Afghan women from back home so well. They usually do at our family gatherings. So I'm thinking these sisters, one of them would be perfect for the role. So immediately I call them on our WhatsApp video call. I'm like, hey, guys, do you want to audition for this? One of you has to do this. And the first one tells me, I'm not going in front of the camera. Are you kidding me? And then the other one, more furious, are you okay? Are you crazy? So I'm thinking, based on their response, these women are not going to do this. And as usual, my husband, Wahid, is the person I always complain to, like all of us. I'm like, I cannot believe these women are not doing this. This is the perfect opportunity. And he goes around, he's like, then why don't you audition? And I'm looking at him like, me? I've never acted. What are you talking about? So initially, I took it as an offense. I thought he was making fun of me. But then he's like, why not? You're in your 40s. You speak fluent Pashto. And you just need to believe in yourself. I think you can act. And still, I'm like, we're arguing back and forth. And then the kids hear this, and they start running into the room that we're in. And they're like, my firstborn, Marwan, he's 17 right now. He goes, hey, you could be my door to Hollywood. He wants to be an actor. My second son, the more competitive one, Zadran, he's like, you know you could set up the family record. You'd be the first one in Hollywood and on TV. And then my little guy, Subhan, our youngest one, he comes and he gives me the biggest hug and he goes, we could buy a house in California and build that swimming pool behind the house. And at this point, seeing their excitement, I was sold. I'm like, bring it on, let's go. So we get the script, and my husband gives the task to my older son, Marwan. He's like, okay, you're going to prepare your mom for the audition. So Marwan is right on it. Okay, we have the script. You're going to have to memorize. So day and night, before my bed, anytime he could find, you need to memorize your lines. Are you memorizing? Are you working on it? On our way to his dentist appointment and back, he had me memorize my lines. And when we got home, he's like, go upstairs and change into your Afghan clothes. So I go upstairs. While I'm changing, he has set up. I come downstairs, and there's this whole setup of in the corner of our house. It's an Afghan room. So we sit on floor mats called korbacha. He has set up a korbacha with a pillow on the back for me to rest on. There's lights. There's a tripod. And I'm like, wow, this is like a studio here. And then he hands me over a scarf. He's like, wear this because you need to look like an Afghan mom. So I wear this scarf, and we do about 13 to 15 takes until he's satisfied, and then we submit it. A few days later, I'm sitting in my usual spot, going through Facebook again. I get a phone call, and I'm like, hello. And hi, I'm Ken Miller. I'm calling from Warner Brothers. I'm the casting director for United States of Al. We think you'd be a great fit for the role of Gulbashra. And he went on and on talking about a lot of things, and I'm just sitting there frozen and shaking like I am right now. So, I have goosebumps, and my mind just went blank because, honestly, I did the audition because the family made me. I had no clue that I'd be getting the part. So they thought I was a perfect fit for Gulbashra. In the meantime, my mom is sitting in the room behind me praying on her prayer beads. And I'm frozen, and I hang up. I tell him I didn't want to sound overly excited, so I'm like, thank you. Let me discuss this with my family, and I'll get back to you. And I turn around to my mom. I'm just frozen. I can't get up. I'm like, Mor, za Hollywood tazam. And that means, Mom, I'm going to Hollywood. And she's praying, and the look on her face is so puzzled, like she had no clue. So then I got up. I was like, remember a few days ago when Marwan and I were videotaping, all that fighting, all that stuff? I mean, we fought a lot during these takes. And then she finally stopped praying, and she's like, Chishi? Or what? And I'm like, yeah, we sent in the video. The people really liked me, and they want me to come play the role of an Afghan mom. So she still has confused, but at the same time, she's like, would your father let you do this if he was alive? And that kind of took me aback. And then I was like, yes, he would. He'd be very proud of me if he found out that I was playing this role. So the next person I call is my husband, Wahid. He's at work, and I'm like, I tell him the good news, and then he's like, let me call you back. He never did. 20, 30 minutes later, I see him walk into the door. He left work just to come and personally congratulate me. He gave me the biggest hug, and he kisses me on my forehead, and he said, I knew you could do this. At this time, the kids arrived from school, and Marwan's all excited. So, did you hear? Did they call you? And we kind of tricked them. For a while, we stayed quiet, and then Wahid goes, your mom is going to Hollywood. So the kids were all excited. We had our hugging moments, laughter, everything. So once my immediate family found out, we let the extended family know. And some of them were really excited. Some of them were very confused, like, where did Hollywood come all of a sudden to this lady? And some of them were furious. They were furious because I'm a kidney transplant patient, and I am immunocompromised. And they're thinking, why is this crazy lady going in the middle of a pandemic across the country to film for Hollywood? So then I called my transplant team, and I'm like, my nurse Lola, I love her. I'm like, Lola, I have an opportunity in California. I need to go to California. And she talks to the doctors, and she's like, the doctor says there's no way you're flying to California. And at this point, you know, we're kind of going back and forth, and she's like, no, they're not going to let you go. So Wahid's sitting next to me, hearing this whole conversation. After I hang up with them, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go, so I'm going to call Ken Miller, our casting director, and tell him to find somebody else, because there's no way I can go. And there's a lot going on in Wahid's brain right now, and he turns around, he's like, don't email Ken yet. I'm like, but I need to let them know because they need to find a replacement. They don't have enough time. He's like, no, your doctor said that you cannot fly, but they didn't say anything about driving. So at this point, I'm like, seriously? Like, are you joking? I really thought he was joking. Like, who would drive? He's like, nope, I'm not joking. So here I am. Hey, Lola, I know you told me not to fly. Can we at least drive? And Lola's laughing on the other side. She's like, yes, dear, you can drive, but you're going to go at your own risk. So a week later, here we are driving from very icy and cold 33-degree weather Virginia to warm and sunny California. Of course, with the help of Clorox wipes, Lysol spray, masks, gloves, we made it in 3 days. We were in California, and I had to quarantine for 5 days before I could step in the studios. So after 5 days being in the hotel, Wahid was working from the hotel. I was preparing. He drives me to the studios. I go in, and of course, it's Warner Brothers Studios. It's like a whole city of itself. Before I get there, I want to tell you something. So first of all, I'm Afghan, so we're a little extra with everything. I'm thinking Hollywood, you know, it's my first time. So I put on this dress, nice boots, did a blow dry, wore a lot of makeup and tons of perfume. So we go into Warner Brothers, and they put me in the trailer. And after that, when it was my time to go into the stage, they took me to the stage. First I walk in, I'm in awe because of all these lights and mics and cameras. Like, it's a studio and all these sets. And then I look around, and people are dressed very normally. So they introduced me to all the production team, to the writers, the Maria Ferrari, David Goich, and the Muslims and Afghan writers. They introduced me to all of them. I met them, and then they introduced me to the actors. The first thought I have is I look at the actors. These people are in sweats or in shorts or in T-shirts, and my first thought is, oh my God, I'm so overdressed. This is so embarrassing, because everybody looks normal except me, the one who just stepped into Hollywood. Then they introduced me to Dean, and I'm thinking Dean is a director. I'm like, hi, Dean, how are you? And then we did one of the scenes, and Dean is acting. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, this is the Dean Norris that Marwan told me about, the guy from Breaking Bad. He said, make sure you say hi to the guy from Breaking Bad, because everybody knew him except me. So afterwards, I went up to him and I apologized. I said, I'm so sorry, I didn't recognize you, but my kids are your fans, so is the majority of my family. And he was really nice about it. He said, don't worry about it, it's fine. So again, normal people. But it was nice. It was a really warm and welcoming environment. They knew a lot about the Afghan culture. We just, throughout the week, we did a lot of practices, we did a lot of scenes. And in the meantime, Wahid's working remotely from the hotel. He'd drop me off in the mornings and then pick me back up from the studios when I was done. So everything was done, and on our way back home, we started driving back. I asked him, I said, Wahid, why did you go across the country and went through so much trouble just so that I could do 2 episodes of the show? And he looked at me, he said, because I believe in you, and because you need to know that because of your health and your background and the fact that you're a woman, that should not stop you from moving forward. You know, this is a thing you can do, and you tackled it. So we go back home. A few months later, when the show was about to air, I was very nervous. I was like, you know, I'm this Afghan woman about to be shown to millions of audience in my Afghan clothes. And I told Wahid, I'm like, I'm very nervous. And then he's like, don't be. Maybe this is your calling. And at that point, I realized that maybe this is my calling. You know, it's more than Hollywood. It's more than the glamour. It's more than the fame. It's more than the money. It's about representing. And I was here, and this was my calling, to represent those women that the world sees as oppressed throughout the world right now, through the media. How the media has presented these women is not true. And so that night when my episode aired, I sat there with my family and I looked around. When Gulbashra, my character, came on the screen, I was sitting with my kids and my mom and my husband, and I wasn't watching the screen, but I was looking at them. I was studying their faces. The kids were really excited. They're laughing. They're excited to see their mom on screen. Then I look at my mom, the one who initially told me, how would your father feel about this? Because I was speaking Pashto and I was on the screen, and she looked at somebody who looked just like her, because I look a lot like my mom. She had this big smile on her face because she finally heard Pashto on TV, and she understood. And then I looked at Wahid, and Wahid has tears of joy. And that's when I realized that I've made these people proud. So not only did I make my family proud, I made myself proud, because I got an opportunity to go up there and represent Afghan women that the world sees on TV and through media, and how the world has represented or shown the Afghan men and the Muslim men to society. They're not tyrants, they're not oppressive, they're not the monsters that the world tells us. You know, they need to listen to stories like Wahid's, because he has been my backbone. He was my support system. He pushed me, he encouraged me to do something. You know, he encourages me in everything and supports me. And I have done crazy things, and he's always by my side. But I think this was the craziest, and the funny thing is that this wasn't even in my dreams and my thoughts. He was the one who put this dream in me, and he encouraged me and told me that you can do this. So I want the world to know that these Muslim men are good. They support their wives. And he is an example of a true Muslim and Afghan man who's always been there by his woman.